Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Doctors of Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and science of running and the stuff that we put on our feet. The presenting partner for this podcast is Rabbit Apparel, and this year they are doing something new and pretty exciting called their Clubhouse Series. So at 3 major events around the world this year, UTMB, Chicago Marathon, and New York City Marathon, they're doing their Clubhouse Series where you as a runner can get a full week experience where you get to stay at the Rabbit Hotel, you can participate in their shakeouts and other community events, and you get race swag specific to that event. So if you're wanting to learn more about the Clubhouse Series, you can go to runinrabbit.com to learn more about what the opportunities look like. It sounds like a lot of fun. Also, if you are hoping to get some sort of discount on your next order of Rabbit Apparel, you can use the code DORJAN10 during the month of January to get 10% off an order. Or if it's February when you're listening to this, you can use the code DOCTORS10, and that would get you a 10% off another order from Rabbit. Well, let's start talking about what we have in for testing right now. We are kind of getting this flurry of shoes being sent. There's different times of year where there's a lot of shoes being sent out for review and for testing. So what do y'all got going on? Shoes, apparel, otherwise?
Yeah, I can go first. I've got a few different things. Like you said, we have a flurry of shoes that have been coming in. Unfortunately, I don't know what I was thinking. I did not grab them. Normally, I have 20 pairs of shoes to the left of me here, and I've got 4. None of them are the in for testing. Actually, one is, but I don't think I'm on this review. But this is the Reebok Float Stick Tread.
Cheeto shoe. Looks like
Cheeto
Cheetos.
Shoe. Yeah, so it's meant specifically for the treadmill, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, like, that rubber, like, it's pretty aggressive for just being a treadmill.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got that on there. But just kind of a neutral, kind of lower base shoe. It's got a little bit of flexibility to it. Lower volume, which I thought was surprising. But yeah, especially with your feet getting hot on the treadmill. So I thought they would have a little bit more space there. But other ones, we have the On Cloud Runner 3. That written review should be out very soon. Video should be out soon as well. Puma Deviate Nitro 4. Video is out. Review should be coming pretty soon as well. So On Cloud Runner 3 is a mild, moderate stability shoe, just daily training, workhorse type shoe. And Puma Deviate Nitro 4 is kind of like that do-it-all, very responsive, but still lightweight trainer from Puma.
With your experiences / how they market the Cloud Runner as a stability model for them? Or do they market that as a stability model? I mean, I can see it has that big clip basically in the heel where it's like this plastic clip that kind of dips into the midsole a little bit, but I didn't know that's what it was marketed as.
Yeah, and then they have one that's like a step up from that. Klein might know that.
It's the On Cloud Flyer.
That's what it was.
The step up. Yeah.
There it is.
Well, what I like
it's
about
it's the one with the black, and then it has like the rim around it, and then it's like I can picture it, but for some reason the name was escaping me.
What I like about the Cloud Runner from being a quote unquote stability shoe in their marketing, at least standpoint, I'm pretty sensitive to stability shoes, even just like standing and walking around. But that one isn't so much built into the platform that you stand on, or at least I don't feel it there. It's much more just the structure and the width of the platform. So more of this, a very stable neutral. I haven't ran in it yet because I'm still coming back from injury, but from my use during the day, I've noticed it being a lot more comfortable than other stability shoes.
Yeah, definitely. And I wish I had it on me right now because that shoe focuses a lot on the rear foot. If you look, it's very structured around there, and it's like you could tell that's where the majority of stability emphasis is. And then once you get to like the midfoot and forefoot, it's pretty much just a neutral shoe that's kind of a firmer ride with just kind of a little bit of sole flaring. So it's kind of like a stable neutral kind of going from the midfoot forward, but very much stability in the heel is the feeling I get. Yeah.
I would almost use the term guidance more in terms of just kind of how it's set up, where it's not a lot of like traditional, although the heel clip has been used for years, but that's not every company be like, oh, it's a stability shoe. Some people just put that in there, neutral shoes. My pair is still in the box, and I really want to try it because I'm also one of the ones that was harassing Nathan as soon as I saw it on REI's website. Like, we gotta get the shoe. Ha, ha. It's just pretty much what poor Nathan has to go through with like every shoe. But just for those who want to know the inside story of what a pain I am.
Don't be nicer to yourself.
I'll try to be nicer. It's in the box because of the specs. Because the Cloud Runner 2 was like, I was trying to put together like best lightweight stability shoes or the remaining light stability shoes. And then I saw the weight like this. So that apparently they have, David, correct me if I'm wrong, it's now got Helion HF, or at least there's a layer of Helion HF foam in it, correct?
It says that on there. Yep.
Yeah, it says it on there. Yeah. But the weight like went way up. And so I'm just like,
I thought it was just Helion Super Foam.
Or is it, maybe, I don't know.
Because they call their Helion, like just the base midsole, Helion Super Foam. That's like its full name.
Nathan, is it HF or did I get that wrong?
Well, no, David's got me second guessing myself. So
I don't remember HF in there.
I thought it was Helion and then it's Helion HF. Yeah, HF, not HF, HF. But I guess the reason I haven't put it on yet is the review's covered by David and Bach, obviously. But I'm like, I really wanted this to be lighter, which has kind of been my complaint this year. So I was going to
say there should be like a whole saga about Matt. There could be like some sort of parody of Matt trying to find a lightweight stability trainer.
Yeah, when they're all dying. Yeah, I'm keeping my hopes up for the Saucony. What is it? Hurricane 26 is supposed to be like 9.2 ounces, right, David?
Which one?
The new Hurricane is supposed to be much lighter.
Yeah, man. So, it's supposed to be super light. Same with, I think it might be like 10.1 if I remember correctly, but it's like pretty light for how much shoe. It's like 42 or 43, I think.
Oh, wait. So if it's 10.1, that means technically it's gone up. I thought it was, I had heard 9.2.
For the Hurricane? Maybe it is. Actually, I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. I guess we'll see.
I remember the Triumph is losing a bunch of weight. That one's getting super light. But maybe it is. I gotta,
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was trying to find the Cloud Runner here, but even on their website, I don't actually see it. I see Cloud Runner 2. I don't see Cloud Runner 3 on their website yet.
We'll report it in our written review. We'll have those details in there. So
we'll get to the bottom of that. Sorry. This is a live podcast, so we're figuring this out on air sometimes.
David,
maybe I'm just making this up. Sorry, David. What else?
Well, I had another question for David about the Deviate 4. Because I loved the Deviate 3. Mm-hmm. The only thing for me, it fit a little bit snug. So I got half size up for the 4, but I'm not running in it yet. I put it on and it felt good, like when I stepped into it, but I've been hearing reports from the team that I would just love your perspective on it so far.
Yeah, they're all wrong. Don't listen to them.
You like it? Yeah. Of course you do. David's got the unicorn foot.
Yeah, you can handle anything.
I don't know. A lot of other people like it seems like, but I can see why they don't like it. And we have a video on YouTube for this if you're interested to hear like the in-depth thoughts, but
which is doing really well, by the way.
Yeah, well, thanks. The video is basically what we're talking about. So it is lightweight, it is versatile, it is responsive, it uses nitro foam. Then there's a top layer that's a little bit softer. I believe that's Nitro Elite. Yeah. It also has like a tiny little sidewall there from that foam. I don't know if I feel that much, but the thing that makes this shoe, I think, very polarizing is the plate is a carbon plate and it is very stiff as it transitions into the forefoot and it's spooned out pretty early. And so it's a pretty early stage rocker and it almost lines up right with those med heads. Okay. And if you lever off of that point naturally, it's going to feel good. You're going to basically just land and roll right off that forefoot. That's what I do. My only gripe with it is that I just wish it was a little more flexible because I can feel that plate once I get over that part and there's like no give to that platform. So once I pick up the pace, it actually feels pretty smooth and it's nice and it feels like a racing shoe, honestly, in a lot of ways. But at daily training paces, it doesn't feel bad for me, but I would just like a little bit more flexibility. That's all. And if you go to flex the shoe, again, I wish I had the darn shoe here. This is like the first time in a long time I've ever, this is not me. I don't know what happened.
We'll hold this against you for your whole life.
Yeah. I always have way more shoes than I need. And now I don't have enough. But if you go to flex it, it will flex, but only in the midfoot. And then if you try and take that shoe and you isolate it in the forefoot, there ain't no bend. And so I can see why some people are like, well, the shoe's flexible. Look, it bends. But like, it does not bend in the front. So like the way it goes functionally is like when you're running in it, you hit that plate and you get onto that forefoot and there's just no give to that sucker. Like you just really got to like, it's got to line up with you. And if it doesn't line up with you, it's going to be probably a rough time. But for those who it does line up with, the shoe actually, it's got the goods. Like it could very much deliver on all of the promises it has. It just has to line up with your mechanics.
And Matt, you've been testing it too, right?
Yeah, I've got about 30 miles on my pair, and I've done quite a bit of stuff in it. It certainly can run easy, but as David said, that forefoot is getting to me. Definitely the first 2 runs trying to run easy in it, which again, it's, carbon plated trainer. So it's relative whether, some people might be able to run that easy in it. Some people it's going to be an only workout shoe. I think for me, it would be only a workout shoe just because it really took until I was going at faster paces where it felt better. I've been doing some more treadmill running because just when I have the chance, if I'm not running with Isabella in the stroller, I'm just trying to get like a quick workout sometimes in just before I go pick her up at George Fox. We have treadmills there. And I've been doing some kind of like real quicker, slowly, progressively quicker 2-mile tempo runs and getting quicker. And so I'd use that shoe and did 5:29 for the first mile and then 5:34. And I'm slowly getting better. I'm probably pushing too fast and overtraining.
Still got it.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow. It's like 11-0.
It's overtraining. It's fine. But definitely getting off the treadmill after that, like my forefoot on both sides ached. And so I was like quick to get it. Luckily it went away. It didn't stick around, but it is a very stiff shoe. One of the individuals on David's video that commented mentioned, hey, would half a size up help? And I can't remember if it was version 1 or version 2 where I actually did that and it felt a lot better. Kind of same thing with Nathan, where sometimes some of the versions might fit just a teeny bit short. You have a half size. I'm wondering if maybe just why it's just me hitting the plate the wrong way, where maybe a half size better up may be better. I don't know, but upper's great. It is more stable than prior versions, which I didn't like in version 3, but just, man, that thing is stiff. So if you like that, great. That's going to be
sorry, you're saying, so if you like that, I'm like, you like that?
Yeah.
The Kirk Cousins. But when, sorry, that totally derailed what my next question was going to be.
That's okay. I got a question for Matt, actually.
Perfect.
How did your Achilles do with that? Because when I was running on that shoe, with how stiff that plate was, it almost felt like a track spike in a weird way. It reminds me a little bit, actually, now that I'm thinking even closer about it. Do you remember that racing flat that Puma had for 5K, 10K? Where that rocker was super early and you're like falling off the front of it.
Fast forward.
Fast forward. Yes. Yeah. I still have my phone. Yes.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Not quite as aggressive. Obviously one is a 5K racing shoe. This is, but it was so early and stiff that it like, I could see someone's Achilles getting irritated by that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of variables right now that my Achilles is actually doing very well at the moment. It's getting a little irritated because I have now started walking full time in my Zero shoes again. And I can do it. And I have enough dorsiflexion. It starts to get a little stiff at the end of the day and a little annoyed, but it recovers and it's great. So I don't know if it's that, but definitely after that run and my other ones, it's been a little extra stiff. And since I finished my testing miles, it's been a little better. By the way, for the listeners who know my Achilles tendon journey, I am back up to doing 100-pound single leg heel raises. And those who know the journey of Achilles tendinopathy know that it can take a while, and just know that you just got to keep working at it. And so I still have symptoms every once in a while, and it still comes here and there, and you just keep trucking away and working on stuff and applying load and being smart. So plyometrics is a really big focus right now outside of the heel raises. But anyway, yes, David, to answer your question or your comment, absolutely agree with you. Although I didn't feel like I towed off early, it just feels like you hit this stiffness that maintains the forefoot, which to me makes the shoe feel much lower drop. So just kind of a lot more tension, which makes sense because the plantar flexors, even if a shoe's plated or rockered, if you're hitting it at like it's too stiff for you, your plantar flexors are going to have to work harder. So you're going to have more tension early, especially through the Achilles tendon. So it makes sense. It's just, so yes, I'm experiencing a teeny bit differently than I think what I'm hearing, but we might be seeing the same thing.
So what I was gonna bring up kind of parallels what you're talking about. And it was that you said the kind of forefoot was sore by the end of those runs that you did, and kind of digging into the why. And I think when we look at the research behind stiff rocker bottom shoes, we always talk about how the calf does less work. And the reason that the calf does less work in those shoes, this is a very generalization, but the reason that it does less work is because when we transition to our forefoot, when you're on the rocker, the amount of force going through the ground into the ball of your foot is less. because of that rocker. So if there's less force into your foot pushing it into dorsiflexion, that means that there's less demand on the complex in the back of the calf. So what I was going to ask is, do you think is it because the placement of the rocker is too late, or is it because of the stiffness, or maybe both, that you're having increased just pressure and that's why it was sore? Or is it because the muscles in the bottom of your feet were working harder and that's why their forefoot was sore? And so I was just trying to tease out if it felt like a pressure-based soreness or like a muscle work-based soreness that you felt in your foot.
Oh yeah, it felt like pressure, like kind of
pressure
like
soreness.
almost like bone, like, oh, this is kind of getting a little like beat up a little bit. To answer your question, I don't know whether it's the plate, the rocker, the curve of the plate. I don't know, but it's a really great point to follow up with yours going, yes, in theory, here's what this does, but there's several pieces that have to all line up exactly right for you as an individual for this to actually apply. And if something is too stiff, then that can actually go the other direction where you actually start actually having more force through the forefoot and more workload through the gastroc soleus and the plantar flexor complex. So yeah, I know you may hear us say it depends, but this is a great reason why, like, hey, it's got to be the culmination of these pieces. But theoretically, if these pieces line up, they can facilitate this piece. This is just one where for me, it's not doing that, but it doesn't mean it's not a slow shoe. It's really stiff.
Nice. Anything else that y'all have in for testing, shoe or apparel wise?
David, did I cut you off early? Do you have anything else?
I don't know. Shout out Downtime Crew.
Yeah.
By Rabbit.
We've obviously got a ton of Rabbit apparel in. Yeah.
That thing's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really nice.
This is, I'm liking this. This will be a go-to for the future for sure.
Yeah. I will say, David asked a question. This is the Rabbit, I think, Cocoon version.
Oh, you got the Cocoon.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, is that UPF protected? Like for long outings?
Dude, you probably wouldn't need it. The Cocoon is pretty thick, so it's like wintertime. It's a wintertime thing. Got it. Yeah, it's for the cold, but it's got the balaclava built in. I love mine.
I've never had one of these before, but I love it because right now in Oregon, it's like, at least in Sherwood, Newburgh, it's like 28 degrees-ish in the morning.
That ain't cold.
I was going to say, it's like going to be -9 tomorrow.
If I say that's cold and everyone tells me that's not cold, it ain't cold.
So -9, Nathan, is insane.
But it's actually going to be like -30 wind chill tomorrow morning. It's not going to be fun. It's
perfect running weather.
Totally off topic. I got to write my first couple book chapters thanks to my director at George Fox, whose name is Jason Brummett, who's amazing. And he, at the last second, was like, hey, you want to fly out to Champaign, Illinois and come to Human Kinetics and like shoot a bunch of videos for like the video component of the book? And I'm like, sure. So flew out in December.
That's cool.
I had never been to Champaign, Illinois before. I get off the plane. They're having a sudden like cold where like it snowed, it's super cold. I've never been in negative or sub-zero temperatures before, Fahrenheit. Wow. I've been in sub-zero Celsius temperatures, not Fahrenheit. So I go to get off the plane and step outside to go with one of the wonderful people who came to pick me up. And I go to breathe and I choked.
Yeah, dude, for real.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I can't breathe. I'm running on the treadmill.
Take your breath away cold.
Yeah, I never experienced that. So maybe it's not as cold here, but having this cover your face in the morning is really nice. And this thing is also super warm. So anyway, off topic. I have some shoes. I have tons of shoes. So I have a ton of stuff that came in. So the Hoka, and I'm going to say this wrong. It's like the other Kayano. It's Kayano version 2 that we don't talk about. Gaviota.
You got it the second time. Yes. Gaviota.
I corrected it. Gaviota 6 is actually really nice. It's much wide, lower volume, but much wider. It is way more stable. Like this is almost borderline a motion control shoe. I really like it. Super smooth. The bevel is in the wrong place. It's facing medial, so heel's a teeny bit clunky, but outside of that, it's really good. I'm excited to see what happens to this shoe in the summer because right now it's in the cold. This EVA seems to be very temperature sensitive, so it's pretty stiff, but still got a smooth ride. I also have the Brooks Glycerin DTS 23, which is using kind of the same setup as the Glycerin Max. Did I say that right? Max 2, which I have found this shoe to be just weirdly firm. Upper's a little bit better, a little wider, still a teeny bit short, but man, this midsole is so firm. I don't know why every other reviewer is like, oh, it's so luxurious. I'm like, this is really firm. I'm trying to let it break in, but it's just like the Glycerin Max 2.
The new DNA tuned.
DNA tuned. It's been really firm. I'm sure some people are going to like that, and I'm probably hitting it in a way that's just not the right way, but that's just me. The one that's I'm not hitting wrong is the Diadora Vigore 5 or V. This shoe is actually pretty solid. It's a lot heavier than I think they're like trying to advertise. It's supposed to be like a lightweight stability shoe. It's like 11.4 ounces in my size 10, so it's not light. But the 2 layers is a kind of bouncier mixed EVA, it's like supercritical EVA on top. That's actually pretty nice. And so I've done some up-tempo stuff in this. It's actually not bad. And the final one, which I thought I was going to hate and am really enjoying, is going to be the Skechers Aero Razor.
Nice.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I thought this was not going to be good. And I was like, and then I grabbed it for one of the 2 mile tempos, and I was like, oh, this is really good. I really like this shoe. And it's like $140?
Yeah.
Is
it still Hyperburst Ice or what's the midsole?
Hyperburst Pro.
It's Hyperburst Pro, which apparently is like, and somebody correct me, it's like an ATPU.
Because embargo is, what do we got? We're on the 18th. You can say that it exists. You just can't say too much more than that.
That's it.
All right, so this is a shoe. It exists, and I can't say the word.
I think we're good. I've got one.
That's what I've got. Oh gosh,
I've got one shoe I'm actually really excited about. I think maybe not everybody knows, but I love hanging out with friends, and my friends got into pickleball, and therefore I also got into pickleball. And I've worn a couple shoes from this company to play pickleball, and it's Zero. So Zero, I used their basketball shoe for it, which was fun. It was like really stiff, and I can't wait to, not that I'm good at basketball, but like if my kids ever want to play basketball, I will play basketball with them. But the 360 Rally is their new court shoe that they just dropped like recently, but I've had this for a while. It has a lot more flexibility than the basketball shoe. Like the forefoot is a little bit more flexible. So it feels in some ways more nimble for like just side to side or like quick movements I would use this for tennis too. I play tennis as well. Not well, but I do also play tennis. So yeah, a lot more flexibility. Like in the basketball shoe, there's a really rigid heel counter. In this one, it's flexible. It's got like a little bit of a reinforcement here, but they reinforce the midsole, the midfoot pretty good. They have like harder, kind of thicker plastic things around the midfoot to kind of hold it tight for the cutting. So even though there's flexibility, it's got the stability element. So it's good. Excited to keep getting back into that stuff too. I know people probably don't care about pickleball shoes, but
I think that's cool, right? Especially in Zero.
It's also started to like, I don't know, we talk about running shoes so much. It's been fun to think about footwear for other things, like it works for lifting too, like because it's so like stable on the ground. So I can get a lot of use out of the court shoe. Anything else that people wanted to talk about? Are we ready to move into the main segment?
I can give a quick shout out to Burrito League.
Oh yeah.
So, because it's not just here, it's like everywhere. I don't know who started it. So shout out to whoever started Burrito League if you're listening to this. But you have wreaked absolute madness upon the city of Santa Barbara because it is a 1/4 mile segment, like from one of the taquerias in the funk zone. And it's literally, we're talking like maybe 2 blocks. It's like a corner, you make a right, very quick little street crossing, and then the next corner, and then back. And the segment's about a 1/4 mile. And so for those who are not educated on Burrito League, like whoever's the local legend at the end of the month on this segment will get free burritos for a year from this participating taqueria. And there's other areas doing this as well. So it's not just a Santa Barbara thing. But the person who's currently in lead in the leaderboard as of 1 week from this window opening is at 170 something miles already. That's a big boy week for anybody. That's like so many miles. And they did it
all on that segment.
You have to. Yeah. It's like, it would make my brain bleed.
Who's running 175 miles a week?
What's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I would know it if darn it. long hair. Anyways, that dude. And but that's the crazy thing is it's not like it's just him at the top and then there's a massive fall off. Like I think second place was like 140-ish. And then third and fourth were tied for 110. Like these people are not messing around for these free burritos.
Free burritos. It's insane.
Well, they have to cross paths. Like you must see each other and be like, oh my gosh. Like
a lot of people are doing laps together.
Wow.
Gosh.
I paid my respects. I did a little over a mile worth of burrito league. And then I was like, I'm going to go run on the waterfront.
And have a life.
If I saw in Strava somebody did like 107, I'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna go run on the waterfront too. Yeah, forget it.
Well, yeah, it's crazy when you see people doing like there have been multiple people that have done a marathon or longer in a single effort. I mean, when you're doing that many miles, you're averaging about that every day, anyways.
Yeah,
like it's just back and forth until you just can't process life anymore, and then you start walking it, and then until you can't walk anymore
you crawl.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Then you go and get some food, and then you get back at it.
Yeah, you get a burrito, and then you go. Yeah.
Good.
But anyway, shout out Burrito League.
Well, as always, the info testing segment is fueled by Skratch Labs. Skratch Labs has fantastic fuel options. Not burritos, but other fuel, as well as hydration. And you can check their stuff out at skratchlabs.com. If you're wanting 20% off your first order with them, you can use the code Doctors of Running. So our main segment today, we are going to be talking about a part of shoes that is often under-heralded, not talked about as much. Usually we're spending time on the midsole, where you're getting all the foams, and you're getting the plates, and you're getting geometry, and you're getting stability elements, and you're getting all the stuff built into that. We want to spend a little bit of time talking about a little bit more of a hard to pin down what's actually best all the time part of a shoe, and that's the upper. And we wanted to talk through our observations of the 3 biggest issues that we've noticed with upper construction in the last year or 2. And so each of us have written down our top 3 issues that we've experienced personally or that we've seen with running friends or with patients and things like that. And so that's what we're going to be walking through is what are the issues with uppers and why might that be an issue and what issues can that cause? Before we get into that, I did a little bit of a lit review, just looking at what do we know about uppers? And there's some stuff out there, but it's also an under-researched area, maybe because it's not as obvious to be able to tie upper construction to injury or upper construction to performance. I think it's pretty clear that the purpose of the upper is to hold the foot on the platform well, and it's also meant to accommodate the foot that is living within the upper. Before I say the study results, Matt, did you have something you wanted to add?
I will say, as a biomechanist who's kind of like looked through this stuff, I have some potential footwear research that's being developed right now. Uppers are really hard to do biomechanics research on because it's very difficult to get markers on the foot when the foot is inside of something. It's much easier to look at the midsole and then do you look at ground reaction forces on a force plate and a treadmill and be like, oh, we can calculate and figure all this stuff out, what's happening at ankle, even at the forefoot, knee, hip. It's much harder to track movement within the shoe and kind of seeing what's happened. You can do a lot of stuff with comfort, but then it's hard to have anything to translate that with. Some people have done some very interesting things where they will cut holes in the shoe and then we'll put the markers. And the markers, by the way, for those who don't know, when you do a lot of biomechanics, you use it like a 3D motion capture system. There are markerless systems now, but most of the traditional ways, you take these reflective dots, stick them on people. The motion capture system calculates and figures and creates a 3D model based on the dots and is able to help you calculate things. So some people have cut holes in the shoe so you can stick the dots directly on the foot, which has been done for heel counters, but that hasn't really been reproduced because usually the shoe's then one use or a few use.
And that changes the upper stability.
Yes, it
you have
does.
holes in it. So that was Matt Trudeau he worked for Brooks previously, but he called it the Holy Shoe Study. That's how they talked about it in house. The studies that I were looking at were kind of looking at what I think most people think about when they think about what's wrong with an upper. And it was about foot shape. And so the studies were military studies where they would give some people random uppers, and they would give some people uppers that matched their foot profile. And then they would try as best as they could to control for all the other factors that could influence injury. And they looked at injury prevalence in a prospective manner. And I looked at 2 different studies that were pretty big. And in both studies, there was no difference in injury incidence just due to the upper itself and just having an anatomically shaped upper. And they would even pair it to the person, not just you get anatomic, quote unquote, and you get non-anatomic. They would pair it to what that person's foot shape was, narrow to wide. So they weren't really seeing injury directly to that. But those studies are hard because there's so much to have to control for. So with that being said, we might talk about foot shape. We might talk about that sort of accommodation within our observations, but we also hope to just go a little bit further because there's a little bit more here that's going to be left to the critical eye, the clinical eye, and our understanding of our experiences, because there aren't big scale studies that help us understand this in ways as well. So what we're going to do, we each have our 3. We haven't necessarily talked much about what these 3 are, but David, do you want to share what one of your 3 biggest issues that you've noticed with uppers is?
Yeah, and I imagine there will be some overlap with this across the board, but and this is in no particular order for my 3. But one is having both a low volume in the forefoot and a narrow forefoot combined with each other. Sometimes, like with certain shoes, I'm okay with the lower volume, like a track spike or a racing shoe, as long as there's a little bit of width. Like as you got some space down there, I'm okay with it being a little snug. But when it's snug and it's tight, then that can feel a little constricting on the foot. And this is an example where this is actually a racing shoe, but it doesn't work very well with me for that reason. This is the Salomon S-Lab Pulsar 4. And I guess on the video, it doesn't look that, that actually looks wider than it is. But when you look in the way the tongue is, it's like it's gusseted real tight. And like your foot's in there. It's not going anywhere. Like even if I just stick my hand in there, like it's just like it's in there. It's almost like a cleat. And then on the inner part here, it's just really low volume and the toe box isn't super wide. And so if there isn't anything to make that fabric kind of just expand out laterally a little bit, that foot can feel like it's getting choked a little. And that could probably be fixed if I just went up a half size, but that is my normal size that I wear. Mm-hmm. And it is meant to be a little bit more of a snug, nimble shoe. Like I get the purpose and the reason, but sometimes when a shoe has both of those combined, it can just be a little bit uncomfortable on the forefoot there. And I know I'm not alone on that one.
Yeah, I can jump in here with you because mine's slightly different, but it has the same result in terms of, I would say, comfort. But even for me, like causes discomfort and pain if I wear them too much. And it's not just the volume, the like how tall the toe box is, and specifically how wide the toe box. For me, it's that lack of room at the transition between the midfoot and the forefoot. So with this is one of the Ultra shoes that I think is a really good example. So usually Ultra, right? Like you have the anatomic toe box, but the distal or like the far part of the lacing structure is kind of where your MTP joints usually sit, about there. That's like the ball of your foot. And oftentimes the lacing system is connected with some sort of thicker, more robust plastic material. And then some shoes, I don't know if you can see it well on here, but they'll have like a reinforcement that stretches from that furthest part of the lacing down to the midsole to add, again, more structure to the midfoot. The problem for me is when there is not enough height or width in this area to accommodate the bulkiest part of my foot. So the ball of my foot has that highest volume and the highest width. And so when there's not enough room and then you have this sort of non-stretch material that locks it down, it can pinch my metatarsals together, which is uncomfortable. And it kind of just changes the line of pull for the muscles of your feet a bit as well. And then it can create compression between your metatarsals. And so that for me is a huge issue, not necessarily of the toe box itself, but that transition into it. Whereas there are other shoes that don't have that reinforcement. So like this is a similar shoe from Topo. And so you still have, the distal part of that lacing system that has some reinforcements, but you can see there's none of that kind of like overlay going down to the midsole. So this one stretches out and accommodates to the size of the ball of my foot, which I think is a big deal from a comfort standpoint, for particularly if I'm getting into longer runs. It just gets really uncomfortable, and I don't think it's necessary either, because if you can lock things down in the midfoot well, you don't need security as much on that distal part of the lacing system where the ball of the foot is. Matt, what would you say for one of yours?
I'm going to add and keep it consistent with you two and stay in the forefoot region. And it kind of add to what David said, where lower volume, kind of more snug width. I also want to characterize this just from a biomechanical standpoint. And I want to clarify before they say this. I can appreciate minimalism in barefoot. I am not a diehard for that. I walk around barefoot as much as I can, especially now my Achilles is doing better. It's not for everyone. And it's really clear that there's certain populations do great and other people absolutely not. That's not a good idea for them. So, and I won't get into that right now. However, for me, one of the things that really bugs me is very similar to David, but it's also just like extremely tapered toe boxes. We're like, you got to have,
you are sensitive to that.
Yeah. A halfway decent, like 4-foot width and just this really fast taper. And sometimes this is okay. I think David, you hit this really well. I was going to add to what you said that it's not just like volume and width. Sometimes they actually like the shoe you're holding up. I think that the width is actually, if it wasn't for this factor, it'd be okay. It might stretch a little bit, but when you have these toe guards that are so rigid and stiff, not only can those, there's better ways to do these. Like, I think a lot of companies for a brief period were starting to put them on the outside and they were a little bit more flexible. It seems like we've gone backwards and now getting back to really stiff toe guards that there's no flexibility and it's just crushing your toes. So your toes, the skin, even with the sock, is sitting right up against the harsh toe guard. It's just asking for blisters. So the reason I bring up barefoot minimalist first is that you kind of got some basic alignment that you need. And the hand's not the greatest example, so I'm going to take the thumb away because that's not great. But like your toes are basically supposed to be essentially straight and have some room to wiggle. You shouldn't have everything smashed together. And there's some exceptions, right? Like, and I've learned this with like climbing shoes, for example. It is kind of better to have everything locked down. There's some variation depending on the activity. But running, you don't want things locked down. I mean, even track spikes, some of the track spikes are actually getting a little bit more 4-foot room because I think they're learning, and somebody can correct me if I'm totally wrong on this. This is a guess that like to be able to disperse some of the forces with such a stiff plate, because now they've got track spikes plus a carbon fiber plate there. You might need a little width just to spread out, because this is actually one way you can shock absorb is you need this motion. So track spikes, some of them seem to be getting wider than they used to be. Then that maybe I'm wrong, but the couple that I have is like actually got some wiggle room. But if things are just getting smashed together and you've got this kind of harsher material rubbing on your feet, like, man, it's blister and callus city. And so, companies kind of got to make a choice. And I get that my forefoot's a little more sensitive, as David mentioned. And I typically like a little bit more toe box room. Some people have a narrow forefoot and may like a little more taper. Nathan, I know you have a little bit more narrow foot than me, if I remember correctly. So feel free to disagree with me.
It's funny. I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to completely agree. It's on my list. Great. So
okay, got it. I got you. Yeah, but just it doesn't need to be a barefoot style shoe. It doesn't need to be like ultra or topo wide. They have their own things that they're due. But just kind of remembering like basic biomechanics of like human function that really, especially the big toe, should be able to function in the sagittal plane and not get forced outwards. It's not going to do as well over here. It does well here. So kind of just making sure that you are respectful of size and structure and thinking about what the forefoot's supposed to do. And maybe I'm wrong and maybe I need a half size up, but I have half a thumb's width between my toes and the end of the shoe. It's just the taper.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that too, because now that I'm thinking about it, now this is for a shoe that I can't talk about, but in my feedback for the wear test, in one of these models, that was exactly the case. There was a toe guard and it tapered quick, and I did rub, my 4th and 5th digit on there a little bit, and I did get a little bit of a blister and a hot spot from it, especially over the course of 14, 15 miles of running. So definitely something worth noting. So I'm glad that you said that.
And I will clarify, by the way. Yeah, Nathan, go for it. Yeah.
No, you finish, and then I'll jump in after.
I was going to clarify. One of the things that people might jump on really quick is like, oh, if you have a tapered toe box, you're going to have a bunion, and things are a little more complicated. To my knowledge, I don't think there's been any longitudinal studies that have actually linked like toe box width and bunions. I think that's more of like a clinical hypothesis that a lot of people talk about. I don't know if we have, and somebody correct me, I don't think we have like actual good long-term evidence on that. It makes sense though. And then the one on the other side, by the way, if it's not on the like traditional bunion's going to be the first toe. You can also get what's called the Taylor's bunion on the fifth metatarsal will get shoved in too much and you get growth out there. So,
I think the best evidence that we have from a bunion discussion, and just for those who may not know, a bunion is when you have kind of what happens is there's like hallux abductovalgus. That meant even less than a bunion. But basically, your big toe is being pushed towards your smaller toes, which makes it look like you got this big kind of bony prominence where your first ball of the first joint, the big toe, the ball,
which also can become a bony prominence. Like
correct. So I think the best evidence we have for that actually looks more at differences in bunion prevalence in different cultures who have different footwear habits. So like in the United States, where especially in times when high heels were with pointed toes were much more prevalent, there's a higher prevalence in the United States in comparison to other countries where that was not a footwear stylistic preference. So obviously that is not the only difference between those two parts of the world and how people exist and what they do with their activities. But I think that's where some of those studies do come from. The thing I wanted to add regarding, because my other one was too early of a taper, but I also added without any accommodating upper with it. So I think it's common. My example, I'll just use this example, is the Mega Blast, which is a shoe that I love, but especially on the lateral side, so by the little toes, that tapers really hard, and there is some taper here. And this is one of those as well that has that toe guard, that kind of thickened component of the upper to kind of maintain the shaping of the toe box. But with this taper, it's paired with one of these synthetic uppers that has like basically no stretch to it. So you are going to get what you get in terms of fit and the shape, whereas something that is a lot more flexible, I'm just going to pull this one up again just because it's a very flexible kind of mesh upper. This is the ST6 from Topo. This sort of mesh upper is going to be able to stretch. So even if there was a little bit of a taper, for me, it wouldn't be a problem if it's an accommodating upper. Whereas this one is not accommodating, and therefore I feel the effects, which I think is okay if the shoe is designed a certain way or for a certain purpose. Like this shoe, I want to take this shoe super long. Like I want to run far distances in the Mega Blast. So I would love an upper that doesn't mess with me over, again, long couple hour runs. So I think that's where I think it can fall short, is when you have this too early taper without an accommodating upper in a shoe that you want to be using for high mileage. David, what's another one you have?
Yeah, getting all fired up.
Woo!
This one's probably not as big of a deal, and it might be geographic more than anything. But
yeah, probably.
I
soft in paradise.
That's a little bit. Yeah, it's just, well, it could be a little bit warmer out west too, but overly plush and thick and warm uppers, where there's a tipping point where when you go premium, everyone goes and gets nice material. They get it real soft, and it gets really thick, and like it feels like a sock on your foot, but not in the best way, like a thick one, And the best example I could think of this lately, and it's funny because it's in a shoe that I like, so it's like one of those things where I'm like, I just wish this upper was a little different, is the Brooks Glycerin Max 2. This upper is so thick, and it runs warm, and I have gotten a hot spot in it before. So like how you were saying, like you want to take the shoe long for the Mega Blast, I'd love to take this shoe long. I love the geometry. Good. It works well with me. It has like the way the rocker profile is up front, like I just fall right off my foot, and there's plenty of cushioning. Like this could easily be a workhorse and long run shoe for me, not to go fast, just for shuffling. But the upper is really thick and it runs really warm, and it almost feels like it's so thick that it almost feels like there's padding to it, even though there isn't. You know what I mean? and it gets hot, and it doesn't even have to be all that hot for me to feel hot in those shoes. Like we're talking like maybe 70 degrees, and that's a very reasonable temperature, I think, for running. But I mean, growing up, I'd run in 100+ degree weather all the time, and I could not, there was no way on earth I could wear that in 100-degree weather. Not that I should be running in 100-degree weather, but like, I think 85 to 95 is reasonable. I'd like to be able to run in that degree temperature, but I don't even know if I can run in greater than 75 to 80 in these. So yeah, sorry, there's my rant on that one. But I think when they go too far onto that side of things, it can be a little difficult for me, because otherwise I love the shoe. So it's like a little heartbreaking for me, where it's like, darn it, like it was almost great.
As I sit here in winter, I'm like, but that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like what you said. That's how you prefaced it. So
that's why I probably someone like David, even though Santa Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, it rains a decent amount there, a little bit more maybe than LA. At least you guys got harder rain. You probably
it never rains here until it does, and then it's awful.
Yeah, that's the better way of putting it. But
and then everything's flooded in the mountains coming down, and
you probably wouldn't do well with a Gore-Tex upper, because while those are waterproof and great, it's also going to capture a lot of heat. Whereas someone like Nathan or myself, Nathan probably more so, a Gore-Tex upper is going to make way more sense. So I think specificity of environment. Yeah, I think you're totally right.
Give me the run shield. Bring it back, Saucony. Bring it back.
Come on.
But the Gore-Tex is even thinner than that, though. Like I've been fine with Gore-Tex uppers.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
It's just like the material itself warms up, and then it's like a big wool sock on your foot.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want right now.
Nathan wants it. Yeah.
Right now.
It's almost like too premium, which is like, I can't believe I just said that. But
oh, that's good.
That's fine.
Matt, do you have another one?
Yeah, I'm going to move back along the shoe and talk about like tongue design. This is something that either is like really great or terrible. And this could go one of two ways. Tongues that are way too thick and ones that are way too thin. And the reason why is, and this is me in particular, things I've experienced. I've also experienced this with a ton of patients that come in super freaked out. Oh my gosh, I have this like terrible pain on the top of my foot. What is this? And then you release their shoes and you're like, oh, it's gone. So you have a lot of very exposed tendons on the top of your foot. These are all the muscles the tendons of the muscles that either extend your toes, or a couple of them actually help extend your ankle. There's not a lot of mass up there. You don't have a lot of like soft tissue like you do on the bottom of the foot. You don't have a lot of compartments there. Things are exposed. And it's also one of the reasons why that area is really easy to take, why am I blanking? Heart rate from feet, right? So generally heart rate's taken kind of like either at the wrist or at the neck. You can take it. There's a pedal pulse as well. And the reason you take it kind of generally at the top of the foot is because it's so exposed. So you can even sometimes see it. My point with this is you need to make sure you protect that, because if you don't if the tongue is too thin, the laces are just going to pinch down, especially on shoes that fit a little bit wider. And for those of us that maybe have normal or narrow width feet, if you got to crank the laces down, then you need something that's protecting your foot. On the flip side, you also don't want something that's so thick, because the other thing that's going to happen for people that have like a higher instep is that it's going to put a lot of pressure down on the poor top of the foot. So it's kind of like tongues need to be done well. And I'm seeing some companies really experiment with like selected padding and trying to save weight. And I'm like, that's cool. But then I just see sometimes people go back and just these like weirdly thick or just way too thin things that are, and this is a personal thing. I really prefer tongues that are gusseted because it tends to help keep them secure. And I like the wrap of the foot. I know not everybody does. So I'm leaving that alone for right now, even though that is a pet peeve. But just like, we've been doing this long enough that just because you either have a fast shoe or a premium shoe doesn't mean you need to stereotype it and make this just insanely thin tongue that causes people like pinching on the top of the foot or way too thick. And it's like, this is literally getting in the way of my foot. And then it starts to slide off the side if it's ungusseted. And it just it's a pain to have to stop multiple times and readjust this. Nobody wants to stop a running. They want to get it done. So,
Yeah. Something about tongue construction almost made my list. And it was particularly a mismatch between the padding in the heel counter and the type of tongue that they put in. So a good example was like, I think it was the Nimbus 24 was the first time they used this tongue where it's like, and they have it in the newest one again, where it's like kind of like a knitted, it almost looks like a knit tongue. And it's really stretchy thin, and it's just really thin. Yep. And then in the back, the heel is like premium padding. And what I find for me, what happens is then the padding pushes me forward further into that tongue. And so I feel like I don't sit in the right spot in the shoe, and I got to really mess with the lacing more. And I think I might be in a minority because I actually talked to ASICS about that specific design. And they said of all of their, because they do big wear testing for their stuff, they're like, that was one of our most positively commented things was the tongue. And so I get it, but I think there is something to be said about if you have too little padding in the tongue, tons of padding in the heel, it can push you forward. I'll just talk about my last one really quick. But before I do
so that shoe's not perfect, right? So I have a right to complain about it. No,
I was about to compliment this shoe.
Oh, never mind. Forget
it. Sorry, for those who aren't listening, this is the On Cloud Boom Max. We tease Matt because he hates the shoe, and the rest of us really had a nice time.
I had such high hopes. That was like my most anticipated shoe of 2025, and it crushed my dreams.
It's so expensive. But what they do is, Matt, what you were talking about is they do this strategic padding on the tongue. So it's a really thin tongue, but it's got padding on the in and the outside, just from like the top down, about halfway down. And I think that type of padding functions really well because it takes and disperses the pressure from the tongue off of those tendons and the arteries and even the nerve that spans down. So that tongue does a good job. It's also gusseted for you, Matt. It's like they made this shoe for you.
On uppers are just good in general.
I will. David's totally right. There is not many on uppers that I haven't gotten along with. I
agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
There's one that I hated, but.
And also shout out on Cloud Runner 3. That might be the most cozy upper of the year so far.
All right. Maybe I'll take it out of the box.
They've got a lot of, their fit overall is really good. Yeah. I'm going to push on one part of On's upper construction that is my other like issue that I've run into. On isn't they're not the worst offender of this, but it does happen. And it's when there is just not enough security within the midfoot area or not enough reinforcement. So I think that some shoes are being built wider to accommodate foot sizes, but then they keep that width really big in the midfoot, and then it just feels sloppy. And I think that a lot of my heel slippage issues often come from midfoot security challenges. And that could be because it's actually too much material in the midfoot. And like I brought this shoe out because when I stand in it, the upper like folds out, and there's like a big fold on the inside of the midfoot. So it could just be too much material. The other thing is they may not have enough reinforcement. So this shoe isn't a huge offender because it has a reinforcement strip here along the midfoot, as well as even just this lettering provides some structure to the midfoot in that area. But I think that's been an issue for me when a midfoot is too wide, and then I'm just sliding around. If I'm on anywhere where I have to turn, I just feel like it's not holding me where I want to. So that one's a pretty, I think, obvious one, but also an easy one to correct. You just cinch it up a little bit or put in some overlays. Because I think back to like when I ran my first marathon in 2017, I think it was, and I was trying out my first shoes, and it was the New Balance 1080 at the time, version 6, I think it was at. And it had basically an entire plastic midfoot. And then I think back a few years, that was replicated in almost the Ride 18, I think it was, that 17. It had like a whole plastic portion. And so that was overkill on the other end, where it was like too stiff of the upper and the midfoot to create that security. I think that there's a happy medium. I think Topo does a really nice job with their midfoot overall, unless you don't get along with the Ortholite insole, because that plays into the upper there. So that's my last one. David, do you have more, or was that? Done with your 3? Yeah,
I've only done 2, fam. I got one more.
That's what I thought. Because you each have one more, I think.
Yeah, we both have one more. Actually, I think Klein and I might have something very similar because he hasn't talked about this yet, and I know for a fact he's sensitive to it.
Oh, I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, but
it's probably it.
Mine's kind of a combination of two things, but it's when not necessarily the heel collar itself, but like where the seam is on the posterior side where the upper comes together where the Achilles groove is, where that comes up a little too high and it comes anterior being forward a little bit too much. And I almost feel like I shouldn't say anything and just let him go off.
No, go, David. No,
Matt,
go.
Let it ride.
No, I'll ride your. I'll be your wingman and ride the. Yeah, after
there is no way on earth I can say this and not be as fired up as Matt.
It causes me intense pain. It literally ruined. I took a buzzsaw to shoe because of it.
Go for it. Go.
Yeah, please, Matt. Matt, please.
I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, Matt, do it. David. We need you.
Because I want to get the second part. Because my part is also going to be a 2-parter with that combined with something else. So, David, go. Finish, please.
Dang. I thought I was gaslighting you into gold.
No.
Okay.
You'll get your gold. Don't worry.
But one of the most recent examples of this was the Saucony Endorphin Pro 5. And it's not necessarily where my heel sits in this shoe. That part's fine. It goes really high up and you can kind of see how it has this like little curve where it starts going forward. And I just get this friction like kind of mid Achilles tendon. And it just creates a lot of rubbing and pressure to the backside. And then sometimes too, when I'm running, like when I flex my ankle forward, I can feel the very top of this dig into the Achilles a little bit as well. And that's just a example that's happened recently. It has happened with other shoes before. Off the top of my head, I'm blanking on what they are, but every once in a while it happens where that seam, it just runs a little too high and it starts digging into things. And thankfully, I'm usually not that sensitive to it. Like it usually creates a little bit of rubbing and like I'm fine, but like that one did cause blisters for me. Like one example, I see the Neo Vista 2 back there. That's one example where it goes up pretty high, but it's not as problematic because it actually has some space in the back and it's not like pushing forward as much. So like you can go high. Yeah. So it's more that combination, rigid, high, and going forward.
Yeah.
That kind of create that bad combination for me.
That's a really good one. Matt.
Yeah. Oh my God.
This is how you solve that somewhat. Actually, some of the this good thing.
Matt brought out literally. Matt, what is that? Tell people who are listening what you just brought out.
6-inch small cordless chainsaw that still has pieces of the A6 GT 2014 on it.
So you actually use it on your shoes, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So your turn to go,
Matt.
Matt.
There's no battery too. Sorry, I forgot to put the battery in. Anyway, yes.
I thought he was going to turn it on air.
I was going to, and then the battery's gone in there, so forget it.
That's probably a good thing.
That's probably good.
Well, you give your perspective on this, Matt, and then we'll wrap things up.
I'm 100% with David on this, that like heel design is really important in respecting what the tissues back there at like the Achilles tendon is part of the most important propulsive and supportive muscle during the stance phase of a running gait. It is the propulsive running gait muscle. Okay. Yes, when you run really fast, your hip extensors tend to join in quite a bit more, but for the majority of people, calf is really important. As you age, we lose calf function and Achilles tendon function more than anything else. And there's some emerging evidence that, hey, you want to do well, you got to really hammer this thing in. And so I say this as someone with Achilles tendinopathy and an active irritated one right now. And a
Haglund deformity.
And a Haglund deformity, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I do not understand why you would angle your heel design, especially like heel counter in the top here, into the Achilles tendon. We know that excessive pressure on tendons is a risk factor for tendinopathy. We have evidence that a risk factor for Achilles tendinopathy is wearing compression socks, actually. That is a risk because tendons like to be able to move and have flexibility movement. So having something like the G2014, unfortunately, I can't even run in the Reebok, I think it's Zig Tech.
The tread.
Yeah, the tread. I can't run
this
in it.
This one's kind of similar. I was going to bring that up. I haven't run in it yet, but I could feel it walking around a little bit.
I can't even.
You can see it's pretty prominent there.
Yeah, after walking a little over a quarter mile in that shoe, my Achilles was flared up for like a few minutes, but it was like, nope, I'm either gonna have to cut this to help out, or I'm gonna have to move on. So having something that jams into your Achilles tendon every single time you plantar flex, which is one of the more important motions in running, if you want to move forwards, just is a very, very poor design. Like, have it go straight up. There's much better ways to secure the heel and keep things from slipping. This is not a good one.
That's what
luckily,
I was going to say that really quick. I think the reason why companies do that is they're like, oh, we need to grab because your heel bone is rounded like that. So like, we need to grab the heel bone to keep the heel secure.
No,
it's just poor execution of that idea.
Yep.
So keep going. Sorry.
I think there's better ways to do that. And you also have to be really careful, because again, that's just going to jam into your poor Achilles tendon every time. The other thing I want to comment is on poor heel counter and heel collar padding design, which also goes into this, because when you pad only the top of the heel quite a bit, it does the same thing where it's just jamming into the Achilles tendon or Achilles tendon insertion. So every time you plantar flex, it's just like pushing into that over and over and over again. It's getting to the point where like I almost can't handle running in those shoes at all. Even my tendon's doing a lot better, but even now with it like handling a lot more, it's still so irritating and painful. It's straight up painful. And yeah, that also, when you do that design where you've got a super stiff counter and only the top part's padded, not only does the top part jam to your Achilles, your poor heel is sitting right back against this hard counter. If you have something like me where you got a Haglund deformity and you have sensitivity there, it sucks. You can't wear the shoe. So it's like you got like a double whammy of jamming into Achilles tendon and irritating the Haglund deformity. So it's like, this is not great. And those are really common. I'm not a unique person. Achilles tendinopathy is like one of the third, I think, most common running injuries. Number one for masters runners. And then Haglund deformities are super common. So yeah, I think I get where companies are going. They're trying something going, we want to lock the heel down. Cool. But don't forget about basic human anatomy and biomechanics and how things function in motion. And that like what optimal tissue health looks like when it's in motion. And I understand where people are going, but you also have to pair that. And so I hope I don't know if people listen to us, but if any of the developers do, like, it's something I just want you all to think about, because this can be something that can make or break things for people. It's also things that I have had patients come in for, and I'm like, you can't wear that shoe. You need to get something else. Here's why this is maybe contributing to this among some other factors, right? This isn't the only thing, but you need to try something that doesn't have this component. They come back the next time, they're like, I have no pain. Like, yeah. So I'm not saying the running shoe is all of it, but I'm saying this can definitely clinically, again, we don't have a lot of evidence on some of this stuff, but clinically it can really contribute and bother people. So, yeah.
Great. Well, this is fun. Always fun to get to spend the evening chatting with y'all, and good to see Matt get fired up a little bit. That always means we talked about something fun.
He's putting the battery in.
Before Matt gets the battery in. That's his mini chainsaw to saw off bad heel counters.
Also to cut a Christmas tree, but yeah, that's
perfect.
And trim trees, but it's fine. Yeah.
With all of that, thank you all for joining us for the Doctors of Running podcast. We had a fun time around the round table, and we hope that you all got something out of this, even if it's the trick of getting one of those chainsaws to be able to cut your shoes to your liking. Take care, everybody.